Welcome to this week's episode of Good Company. This week, we sit down with Des Kerr, who's the person and driver behind People and Culture, a HR firm that specializes in helping small and medium businesses run better organizations, look after their people and culture. Enjoy the episode. I appreciate it, Des. Thanks for jumping in.
You're welcome. Yeah, looking forward to it.
I was telling you before the show kicked off, Good Company and the idea behind it. It's good company. It's people that I believe a good company to get into a room. That's the first premise of the show. And the second thing is that they're building a truly good company. And I suppose there's a bit of irony in that because you're a HR specialist and you know what it actually takes. And you've seen some of the big companies running business. But I suppose what is super interesting about your stuff is it's all people. It's people and culture. And so I want to start there. Des, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to here.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for the opportunity. So 20 years in the HR industry, Dylan. So I grew up working in retail, then progressed my way through to HR and training in the menswear industry. 10 years as a HR manager in the pharmacy industry with Maloof Pharmacies. And then I was in not-for-profit for a while. And then just decided 5 years ago to make a change and go out on my own in the HR industry. So I felt a bit HR is not always done right in businesses. HR has sometimes a negative connotation to it because people have not been supported or they don't feel HR has done what they've needed to do to support them in their business. So by going out on my own, I'm working on changing that culture, that HR can be done right and people are supported.
What does good HR look like for you?
Firstly, being a good human. And for me, in my own business, what I look for now is I want to work for businesses, Dylan, that are good to their people. So I'll actually knock back clients if I get the feel and initially working with them that they're not there to really look after their staff. I don't want to associate my brand. Luckily, that doesn't happen very often. But I want to work with businesses where I can be there for the employer, but equally be there for the employee. If you want me to do a great job for your business, I need to be there to support your employees in the current climate as well as you and achieve best outcomes for both. That's where my passion lies.
That's what a company is, right? Just it's people.
Yep.
It's people at its core.
Yep.
When people are good at the top, talk to me a little bit about that, because that's some of the stuff that I would focus a lot of this conversation on. You build a business and eventually whether you're a good person at the top of the organization sometimes doesn't necessarily layer out or layer down. You hire a manager or you hire a 2IC, you hire the next guy who not detaches you from your workforce, but in a lot of ways, how you move and operate doesn't land as though it did when you were walking through the building yourself.
Yep.
When people are getting it wrong, why do you feel that's happening? Why are people, I suppose, dropping the ball when it comes to HR?
Yeah, you raise a really good point because stats will show that people don't leave a company, they leave their manager a lot of the time, firstly.
Right.
So it's that direct report that they have interaction with all day, every day, that impacts on their health and well-being and whether they're enjoying their role or not. That's critical. Sometimes businesses, Dylan, promote people into manager roles that aren't ready for it. So back in the pharmacy industry, I'll give you an example. You would have a brilliant pharmacist, clinical pharmacist, so good with customers, knows his or her stuff. So because they're so good, let's promote them to be a manager. And they're not ready to be a manager. They don't have the emotional skills or the people skills to do that, if that makes sense. So
that makes complete
leadership have to spend time and invest in their managers, particularly on that. Emotional intelligence is the number one desired skill currently for leaders, and communication. You have to get that right.
Transparent communication,
Yeah.
I do try and really, obviously this is selfish for me because I'm trying to take away as much source as I can get from you. So emotional intelligence, EQ, how much empathy you have for that person and their situation, obviously that plays a part. But are there skills or I would say, is there skill development that you've seen good companies do along the way that you've just watched them nail that time and time again that has led to outstanding people, therefore outstanding company, therefore very hard to compete with?
Yeah, good question. I think so. From a normal training model, 70% of our training should be spent on the job learning. So really, communicating with the managers, telling them when they're doing a great job, giving them feedback when they're not. 20% of the time of training is mentoring. So giving them a good mentor. And 10% of the time is like a training course or sending someone off to learn something physically, if that makes sense, in a course. So modeling the right behaviour to start with. When I was a store manager back in the day, modeling the behaviour that I would expect from a customer coming in for a refund to dealing with a complaint. Your staff are watching you all the time, how you deal with things under pressure. So they learn from you. And that's where the good human comes in. You're checking on people outside of work, getting to know them, what makes them tick, what their lives are like, really caring about your people. We still want a job done. We still expect them to be productive and look after our customers and be a good worker, but it's having those communications with them and timely. Hopefully I'm making sense, but it is a bit of a passion area of mine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time needs to be spent on that management of people and getting it right. And investing in our managers who are managing the people from when they walk in during the day. How does the day start? What are we communicating? What's the tone? What's the vibe?
Yeah, that tonality, that cadence, I call it. I completely agree. So I think I've got it pretty good, or pretty, not easy, but as straightforward as it can be, because for us, I'm go on the speed, as you know, like I'd walk in and just everyone, he's going to be going. So it's that pace. That's the starting point. I feel like over time you definitely develop like emotional intelligence. It comes more, I suppose it's more awareness of not everything in your business is their business. Sometimes they have a whole separate issue going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And without experience, you can kind of overlook that and just be like, this performance is piss poor. What's going on?
Yes.
But over time, that develops if you're given the torch for long enough, I suppose. I think what I was getting to is I think I've got it pretty good because I can almost see everyone that we hire. We've probably got 20 in one, maybe 40 total people across at any one time. So I think that's relatively easy to still be in touch with.
Yep.
Where does it come unstuck? Is there a number where it's like, right, you haven't put managerial levels in the business at 10 employees and therefore you haven't had the time to maybe develop that management team out and it's short of fall? Like, is there any data or anything that you have that you could add to that?
Not from a data point of view. I think some points for me is, from that recruitment stage of when we're getting people on board, where a lot of people fall down, Dylan, is the onboarding. So we interview these people, we promise what we promise, and when they turn up day one, week one, it's not what they expected. I'm hearing a lot of stories lately where people are leaving 1 day in, 2 days in, not coming back to a job. And that might happen anyway, regardless of how good your manager is. But I talk to a lot of my clients about, Dylan's given up his job at a high-powered firm. He's just given 4 weeks' notice. He's ready to start at your company where you've spent, 4 weeks recruiting him. What is day one? What is week one? What is month one? What's mapped out for him? What's the onboarding? I've had stories where a person's turned up to reception and the receptionist didn't know he was starting today. There was no computer set up. There was no tools. He lasted a week and a half, I think, in that job, and that took a while to get him. So it starts from that onboarding. In terms of, what's the number where management comes in, it could, if you've got a manager managing 2 staff or 5 staff or 10 staff, it's still critical that they have the skills and they know how to manage the team, because it's so hard to get good people at the moment. The world's changed in terms of recruiting.
That's where I was going to go. Like, are people getting more precious, Des, or are they just getting more aware of the standard when it looks right?
Yeah.
So I know, like, a lot of these big retail groups, obviously they're spending, or they have been, spending good money on their onboarding. So you can be a 15, 16-year-old kid, walk into one of these said names, and you're going to get a 2-3 week training block of what this looks like and what that career path is that's painted out for you very clearly, right? At 16.
Yep.
So now you're that same kid at 25 walking into old Joe's service business who's got no clue on how to onboard, who hasn't had to hire anyone in 20 years. And the expectation is just not met. And it's, I'm so interested in it because I almost feel like there's a massive gap between a big company and good, and then just the typical Australian business. Because it's almost the last thing they're thinking about is how do I train someone who, in their view, on the opposite side of the fences, might last 4 hours on this job.
Yeah, just come in and do your job.
Come in and do your job.
You should know what to do. So we spend small business and medium business. That's where I like to support, as you know, and that's because that's where the biggest need is in, getting the right people, keeping them, developing them at that whole employee life cycle. Even things, Dylan, like when someone leaves the company and they decide to leave for whatever reason, how do we manage that? Do we cut them off as soon as they put the resignation letter on the desk, or do we make it still a positive experience right to the last day? As long as, that everything's been okay there and to a point. But you want them to leave with a great experience because they're going to talk about your brand wherever they go.
For sure.
Des was a great boss. He really looked after me. I had to move on for other opportunities, but wow, what a great experience.
For sure.
That's what you want.
I still get reference. I think that's really the indicator, right? If you get put on the resume.
Yeah.
That tells you if they have a good experience or a good reference for you in reverse. So I completely agree with all of that. You just said there that there's always going to be a need. There is always going to be a need of someone in the small to medium business landscape that can jump out and give any business just advice on how to bring the best people to the table, the right culture and the best people. But you said in some of the show notes, the first 12 months got a little bit airy for you when starting the company. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. It was certainly a risk for my wife and I, for me to leave a corporate role, Dylan, without a role to go to. But I just had this vision that, like I said, HR can be done differently. So my wife, Katrina, backed me. And in those early days, so my wife and I, my family, we're volunteer lifesavers. We've been involved in the lifesaving community for a long time. So that's where my networks came in, where some of my original clients came out of unexpected avenues with meeting some of these CEOs and directors on the beach. Des, I understand you're in HR. We need support. So I built my business from my existing networks. So that was really positive. But yeah, in that first 12 months, Dylan, I did have thoughts of, and Katrina and I talked, should I go back and find a job? It's not really working how we wanted it to work. Thankfully, just after the 12 months' time, I found BNI, and I've been there for 4 years and haven't looked back. So that's been a great avenue for me. And it just clicked, I think, after that 12 months, things started happening with new clients coming on. I got a model that I found that was working. And I always knew, because of my passion for people and the work that I do, that, if I just persevered, it would get there. And now we're 5 years on. And I'm quite proud that it's still going.
And you got a great reputation in it, a great business, a good company in it. Mate, congratulations on the 5 years as well.
Thank you for that. I think part of it, Dylan's having that flexibility on mobile. I'm in the Redlands where I like to support. I do have some clients outside of Redlands, but I can jump in a car and go to site with an operations manager or a director. I've done many trips out west. I've done interstate trips. If they need me on site for a face-to-face matter, they know they can rely on me. And usually it's part of my service that they've already invested in. Some models you would have to pay extra for a consultant to come on site and deal with the matter, if that makes sense. And then the thing I enjoy also is I've become the external HR advisor for a lot of companies where I've got that trust with the owners that they've told their staff, if I can't deal with something or if you're not comfortable coming and speak to me.
That's us, right?
Go to Des.
Yeah.
And we've got confidence that Des will deal with it and come back to us in terms of, what do we need to do. but it also gives the employee an option rather than them going to work health and safety, them going to Fair Work. I'm going to go to Des, and Des will manage it.
I vouch for that model specifically because that's how we started. I think what you're doing is fantastic. When someone speaking directly to other business owners, you could look at it in two ways. HR is like, hide that, never talk about it, park it over there. That's probably one approach. And the other approach is proactive HR, which has been our approach, as you know. It's right, let's get someone we like, the right person, being you in this case. Let's bring him in. Let's do that consultation. Let's figure out what that looks like. And then let's open that pathway up for the workforce because we're confident in, I suppose, what we're trying to do as a business. We know that we want to do the right thing by our people. We know that it obviously all starts there. But we're also aware that we're not going to be HR experts or people experts to an extent. And that's where someone like you comes in as a superpower. And it's like, right, you've got the experience there of having seen it at a much bigger scale. You know what to look for. And I think it's a major unlock for other business owners to reach out to people like yourself and yourself if available. And just start unpacking that, figure out how to make your workforce better, how to make your people better. And as a business, you reap the reward of that, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, hopefully you saw that day we did that lead up work, and then hopefully you saw that day with your team in. There's a different side to Des where I'm comfortable to get up in front of your team, talk, feel comfortable, communicate, be that person that can, be relatable.
Mate, that's brilliant.
To the team.
Brilliant. Can you just tell us where do they find you if they want to reach out from here?
So Des Kerr at People and Culture Consulting. So I do have a website. I have People and Culture Consulting Facebook page, and through the BNI network, if anyone needs me through there, fellow BNI colleagues. That's my main form of, and I'm local Redlands and travel wherever I'm needed.
Wherever it's needed. And we'll drop the links in the show notes. Obviously, all the resources to you in the show notes. So anyone that's interested, highly recommend. Thank you. Thanks for checking out another episode of Good Company. If you enjoyed this show, I'm sure you'll like many others just like this one. Check out the show notes and the links for free resources by clicking the links above and below.